I can hear everybody coming in. It's really nice to hear and see all the numbers coming. My name is Vibeke Quaid. I'm a senior communications advisor at the Danida Fellowship Centre under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark. We design and implement learning and capacity building activities as part of Denmark's development cooperation, and we also support development research and university partnerships. Now, we are many people here today, and many are coming in still. So, keep it coming. It's really nice to see. But we are way too many to formally introduce everyone. So, I can see people have already started doing it, but please write your names and your institution and your country in the chat. So then in this way, we can kind of start getting to know each other. There are also a few house rules. In your settings, please keep the speaker's view, stay muted while the speakers are presenting, and keep your camera on if you wish. And then please use the chat to ask questions and comments throughout the session. Now, we are 236 participants now here in this call. So today it's all about connecting women academics and researchers. It's about sharing knowledge, it's strengthening leadership and lifting one another up. So I'm therefore very pleased to be joined today by Dr. Fiona Moeges, that's doing exactly that in her capacity as CEO of Mawazo Institute.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm so excited to see more and more women showing up, even as we're talking. The Mawazo Institute is a women-led Pan-African organization based out of Kenya, and we're here to really strengthen the leadership and influence of African women researchers through mentorship, academic support, career development, and evidence-based approaches to driving meaningful change in academia, research, policy, innovation, finding ways to truly ground research in purpose and making sure that the development on the continent and beyond is grounded in lived experience and the realities on the ground.
So today, together, we are excited to launch this new initiative, More Women in Research, Learn and Lead Together, and to grow a global community of women in research and academia. And we can already see it happening. It's coming from everywhere. It's beautiful.
Exactly. And especially today, it's the 11th of February, the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. And this day reminds us that gender equality in research is really not about only fairness. It is really essential for scientific excellence, innovation, and research that truly serves our societies.
See, the thing is that globally, women still remain underrepresented in academia, particularly at senior levels. While access to education has improved, progression, recognition, and leadership opportunities continue to lag behind.
And this pattern is echoed across this entire continent of Africa. Women are increasingly present at the early career stages, which is a really fantastic thing that we're seeing. But we still face a very persistent, leaky pipeline that leaves them starkly underrepresented in senior academic positions, in research leadership. In fact, I think less than 3% of vice chancellors on the continent are women.
And the same is true in Denmark. Women roughly get half of all the PhDs here, but they are still underrepresented among professors and academic leaders.
And I mean, this highlights a broader global reality. The issue here is not a lack of talent. I mean, look at all the names and the research, the universities, the women represented here today. But it's truly about structural barriers, unequal opportunities, and limited access to networks that truly support our career advancement, especially at the master's, PhD level and beyond.
So this is why we are launching the More Women in Research, Learn and Lead Together. It's an initiative that started 2 years ago at a collaborative seminar in March in Tanzania, where we brought together women researchers from across African countries and Denmark. Participant at that seminar, they co-created a manifesto, and I think Elena will drop it here in the chat so you can get a chance to read that. And they also consistently called for mentorship and spaces where women could support and elevate one another. We heard the same messages again later at seminars with researchers from Asia and from other regions. mentorship, and peer support are critical to strengthening women's leadership in research. So it's a call, it's a global call that's stretching from across Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe.
And the Mawazo Institute and the Danida Fellowship Centre have been collaborating on this from the very, very beginning, with mentorship truly at the heart of our shared work. And this movement, the More Women in Research Learn and Lead Together, formalizes this commitment and wants to bring all of you along with us. This initiative brings us all together through live sessions on topics that matter to us, that will help us, and fostering a supportive community where participants can get to know each other and form the basis of what's required for good mentorship, relational connection, seeing each other as humans, so that we can build the foundations for strong relationships between potential mentors and mentees. And it's truly global by design, and today's diverse participation reflects that. I'm so excited to see all the countries that are here today. And we'll share a little bit more about what exactly this movement looks like in action by the end of today's gathering.
But before all that, we will try to set the scene by seeing together a short video on why we are here.
All around the world, women are having university degrees at the postgraduate level, but less than 30% of the global researchers are women. In Africa, of the 97 top-ranked universities, only 21% have women as chancellors, while only 26% have women as registrars. Something needs to be done. We need to start our conversation on how to bring more women into research.
There is no country in the world that has reached gender parity yet.
When we do not have enough women in research, we miss out on the opportunity for having women reflect the challenges that exist.
When we miss women in research, we are missing perspectives of women in health, perspectives of women in education, how women think about technology. And that is important to note, because without these perspectives, it means we are missing out on interventions, on solutions that actually impact half of the population of the world.
50 women researchers across Africa gathered in Arusha in March this year. The discussion among these women resulted in creating a manifesto. And what a better place than to start by sharing it here with the 300 youth who are meeting for the YouLead Summit, discussing the future of education in Africa and why it matters.
Where I'd like us to begin is breaking the glass ceiling.
Speak up no matter what it takes. And here maybe we need to know that even when we are talking about glass ceiling, that's not the only challenge women face. They also suffer from sticky floors. So while you're struggling to heat up, there are also those who are struggling to keep you down. So we have to navigate both the glass ceiling and sticky floors.
Speaking about the sticky floors and the glass ceiling. But anyway, this is how it all started. And it's now my greatest pleasure to introduce our first speaker here, Professor Sarah Sally of Gender Studies and Gender and Development Studies at Makerere University. And currently, Sarah is also the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the university. Please join me in welcoming Professor Sarah Sally.
Wow. I hope I can be heard. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Yes, good afternoon to you. Yes.
Good afternoon. Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this launch, which is discussing a very pertinent topic about women in research and how do we get more women into the research process. You've heard the history of how all this started with the Danida Fellowship Centre, and we have continued working on this in so many ways. And of course, you've heard about the glass ceiling, and really, we actually need to begin by understanding what gender is and the fact that gender refers to the socially constructed attributes, roles, behaviors, and whatever that is associated to women. It refers to what society considers appropriate for women and for men. Unfortunately, that then goes ahead to structure women's lives, women's experiences, including in the academy and in the research process. So when you hear concepts like the glass ceiling and the sticky floors and why should we get more women into research, there are two aspects that you can approach this topic about. Normally, when we have talked about getting more women in research, the initial strategies were of a behavioral nature. And the behavioral nature, the initial thinking was, oh, all women needed was to be encouraged to come in. And indeed, there is a great room and need to pay attention to that. As you've heard at the beginning when Vivek and Wanjiku were speaking, the mere fact that women are there, women start off in the educational journey, but as you go higher up, you find very few there. So encouraging more women to participate in the research process, encouraging more women to do the sciences, encouraging more women to take on research responsibilities, whether as PIs or grants managers, encouraging more women to participate in a way of being there through affirmative action is very, very important. That then addresses the behavioral nature that probably there was no opportunity, so you have created opportunity. And the other aspect, and when we talk about glass ceilings and sticky floors, is the structural aspect. Women have come in. How is the space adjusted to accommodate them? How is the space adjusted to know that while women may come with peculiarities such as reproductive health services or such as require maternal health care, that too is important. And it is not seen as a deficiency, but seen as an important bit. So whenever we talk about women and research, we need to pay attention to both the behavioral, where you need to build the capacity of the women, but also the structural, where you need to work on the space in which the women are going to find themselves. Of course, when we talk about glass ceilings, we are talking about how the top resists them. Are the top boards ready to have them? Are they admissible to the male club that is running the organizations, that's running the research enterprise? When we talk about the sticky floors, we are talking about how is society supportive of women to rise? Is culture holding you down? Are other women holding you down? Are reproductive roles holding you down? And things like that. So with that in mind, then we go on to explore why collaboration among women researchers is very essential. But probably I could begin with why the presence of women in research matters. When you do just a brief survey, normally it is a basic human rights matter. That knowledge, society has both males and females. So it is important, and most of this knowledge we know about society has been constructed by men. So it's just important that you have women there to also tell the story, to also bring the nuances from their vantage point as females. So having women in research matters for them to bring the other side of the story that is not told. The other aspect is because, so it's a basic human rights matter, that in that they're being excluded, they need to be brought in. Number two, it's very important because women bring an experience that normally people have not paid attention to. And this becomes pertinent when you're studying things like reproductive health, when you're studying things like domestic or household relations, how is decision-making made? If you just go with the position of the household head, then you may actually lose out on what other people in the household who are affected by the decision of the household head experience life. And this has come up very pertinent in studies on nutrition, because it's not just enough to say the household has food. Within different societies, within the household, you find there's what men are allowed to eat, there's what women are allowed to eat. The other thing is that because women experience life differently and they come with these experiences from the knowledge industry, they may come up with different recommendations to a problem. So we need women in because of that, but also the issue of role modeling and creating social impact and the whole aspect of representation and modeling for the other women who are left behind. And then if I can go back to where I had started from, given that if that is very important, then how do we get women to collaborate How do we get collaboration among female researchers so that it is important for them to belong there? And given that there's a glass ceiling, or we anticipate sticky floors, how do women then collaborate to ensure that they overcome some of these things so that they are able to produce the knowledge that has been missing? Collaboration is important because in many cases, like you had the statistics at the beginning, there are few women at the top. We've had the concept that's lonely at the top. And sometimes now the contemporary response to that is that it is lonely at the top because we have not done enough to arrive with others who would have given us support. So if the space has always been male dominated and you join as a female, there are things, it's just natural that you're going to feel lonely at the top. So it's important to build a critical mass of fellow women to arrive with at the top so that it's not a journey of isolation, a journey of speaking alone in the boardroom and no one feels and understands what you're talking. So collaboration is important because it overcomes isolation. Collaboration is important in order for us to be able to share resources, given that women in research sometimes do not have as enough resources like the others have. Collaboration also amongst female researchers is important to build a critical mass and overcome bias. Many times you hear stereotypes, oh, women cannot work together, or women need men to organize them, or women. So collaborating then helps us to defy those myths, to show that actually women can work together, but also to show that when we come together, we can deliver more on particular things that may not have been possible when women are there at the top. We also know very well that when women are alone in those spaces, they end up carrying the secretarial work, they end up carrying the social support work, they end up, so when you're critical mass, one, you share up these spaces, but also two, you lobby together because you're a louder voice when you're more to try to shape the findings, to shape the resource allocation, but also to shape the decision-making in the research institutions. The other thing why women need to collaborate, especially when we are now talking intergenerationally, is to create the pipeline. We are in these spaces now, but how do we keep the door open? You can only keep the door open if you're working hard to bring other women in. Otherwise, you'll keep the door open, and if there's no one to come in, you will have held that door open in vain. So it's very important, but also to balance the work-life responsibilities, but also to share again nuances and to bring that knowledge together. The other thing I thought I should comment on as we talk about glass ceilings and sticky floors is to find out why then gender research is a necessity and not an option. When we talk about gender research, we normally think about three buckets. There's the actual research content, what you're going to collect. And here, it is very important to pay attention to gender-sensitive research because many times research and research data is collected in a gender-blind manner. So if we pay attention to the research content, what are the concepts we are going to use? What are the topics we are going to find research? Is, for example, domestic violence a worthwhile topic to study? And you may find it's a worthwhile topic to study and amplified by females than others who actually don't think it's there. There are topics like death rape, there are topics like maternal health care. So the topics, the concepts, the relationships, the standpoints with which we come are very important. So that's one aspect of thing about gender-sensitive research. We also talk about gender sensitivity in research when you're talking about the process. What philosophies, what methodologies, how are you going to analyze that data? Which field did you go to? How were women part of the respondents? Were they subjective respondents? Were they objective respondents? Are they part of the researchers? Do they constitute the research team? What roles are they playing within that? Are they taking decisions? The other aspect to consider when we're talking about gender-sensitive research is to think about the outcome. How did the data process, collection process go? And what did it yield? And what sense do you make about that data? For example, if you're interrogating or you're researching on, if you're researching on young women who have experienced pregnancy, and they have experienced teenage pregnancy and you're asking them to tell their stories, does the silence count as data or not data? If you have been in that experience, you realize that that silence is pregnant. It is data in its case. But to objective scientific research, the silence might actually go as a non-response. So having the data, how it has been captured, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, how is it going to be analyzed? And having been analyzed, what conclusions do you make about it? Is it stereotyping? Is it empowering? Is it transformatory? Is very important that then we realize that gender sensitivity in research is a necessity. It is a key significant factor. It is not just an option. And why is it a necessity? It helps us to prevent stereotyping. It helps our research to be ethical. It helps to prevent harm and reproducing negative stereotypes. It helps us to capture accuracy and validity of the research, but it also helps us to observe ethics and sometimes to come up with good innovations, to come up with developmental ideas that are going to help us resolve societal problems better than if we had just had one story. So that is what I can think about. And in brief, I know I'm supposed to take 10 minutes. That looks like it was already more than 10 minutes. Probably now at this juncture, as we go into breakout rooms, is to reflect on the topic. How can we mainstream gender in our research? I know on the call are different researchers at different stages, and we've done different kinds of research, maybe pure scientific research or social research and all that kind of thing. So it is at this juncture where we need to reflect, having listened to what I have said, how then can we embark on a journey of mainstreaming gender in our research? And if we successfully mainstream gender, will it look the way it has been looking to us before? Or shall we come to it with new lenses and do things differently? So in short, the key question is, how can we mainstream gender in the research we have either undertaken before or in research we are currently undertaking? Thank you very much. And over to you, Vivek and Wanjiko. Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Again, an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for pointing out that collaboration among women is key to elevate, and also to asking the question, how do we mainstream gender in science research? So now it's time for everyone to get to know each other a little better. So we will send you into breakout rooms and to get a chance to discuss with each other. How do we mainstream gender in science research? Sarah's question. Please, when you get into the rooms, appoint a person in your room as a facilitator to guide the discussion, and try and be brief doing that because we only have 10 minutes. And then think about a word or a short sentence of maximum 3 words that reflects your ideas and highlights from this discussion, and then enter it into the Mentimeter that Elena is going to share now in the chat.
I mean, some of the things that have come up and you know, inclusion, collaboration, some really interesting things here around females need to be supported at home. We need to recognize women everywhere. Visibility and support. Prioritizing women, commitment. Yeah, really, really integration, mentorship, equity, inclusive design. That's a really great one. How do we design our institutions, our systems, our interventions to be truly inclusive? Dismantling power structures, sensitization on policies. There's a lot of wonderful things showing up here, and very practical things that can truly allow us to show up fully and participate fully as women in research. So thank you so much all for sharing. Yeah, well, this is really wonderful. Thank you. Now we want to bring on board and introduce and welcome a wonderful, wonderful researcher. So we're going from Uganda to Vietnam. And it's my absolute pleasure to welcome and introduce Professor Phan Thi Van. She's recognized in Vietnam as a scientist for farmers for her strong track record in applied research, and she was a recipient of the Danida Alumni Prize in 2019. She served for 10 years as Director General of the Research Institute for Aquaculture, a leading aquaculture institute in Vietnam, becoming the first woman to hold this position in the institute's 60-year history. She's currently Program Director at IDH Vietnam, which is the Sustainable Trade Initiative of the country, a global organization that brings together public and private stakeholders to make agricultural markets more sustainable and inclusive. Welcome, Phan. It's so wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a much later time. We're still in daylight. I believe it's already quite late for you there. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, hello.
Hi. Hi, Phan. I really wanted to start by offering you the opportunity to share your insights on this question that was asked by Sarah.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting me to be part of today More Women in Research event, and it's a real pleasure for me to join in this community as that you launch the Learn and Lead Together, and for me to learn alongside with so many inspiring women researchers in this chat. Back to the question that Sarah were raising, how do we mainstreaming gender in research? I think that mainstreaming gender in research is about making gender a default part of the research quality. It's not an add-on. In practice, that means that we should first of all design with the gender in mind from day one. Ask who the research is for, who might be excluded and included, and why, and so on from the day one. Secondly is that make participation fair and real, not symbolic. Sometimes that people say, hey, put 30% of the women in this research proposal. Sometimes it's just symbolic. So we have to make it fair and real. In order to do that, we have to remove the barriers for women that can engage safely and meaningfully, and make sure that their input is taken seriously. Time, mobility, safety, access, knowledge, and so on. The third one is to co-create solutions with women, not just studying them. Involving women as the partners and decision makers across the research and throughout the research duration. And the last one is, I think that it support it with the leadership and accountability, allocate budget, assigning ownership, and track whether outcome it benefit for women and men fairly. So in the end, I think that gender mainstreaming is not women's work. It is a leadership choice, a research integrity issue. Where we do it well, the science becomes more accurate, adoption becomes faster, and impact becomes fairer, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phan. Thank you. Exactly. I think we need to show it in action. If we're really talking about this, let's put the money where it's at, put the leadership decisions where it's at, to make sure that we're truly doing it in practicality, not just on paper or, for tokenism. So thank you so much for sharing. And, as you reflect on your career, and you've done some fantastic things and really breaking barriers yourself as a truly a woman research leader. What has been a challenge of being a woman in this space? And perhaps what was the advantage of being a woman in this space?
Thank you very much for a very interesting question. It's remind me of I think back about my time when doing the research from the beginning. So I think the first challenge that I face, especially in my field at that time, aquaculture sector, were a basic assumption that this field were for men and women cannot do it well enough. I still remember very well that a day in late 1990s and early 2000, during the disease outbreak in culture shrimp, work at my research work, my team and I traveled to north central of Vietnam region to collect the sample and try to identify the causative of the disease outbreak. Local officer had already gathered farmers for our group discussion so we could understand what were happening. And after that, they took us to from farm to farm for sample collection as planned, as we already planned. We were very eager to start, especially when we reached the first farm, shrimp farmers, where the shrimp were suffering a massive mortalities. But at the gate, we were stopped. The owner refused to let me and my colleague, my female colleagues in simply because we were women. We were shocked. To keep the work moving, of course, we asked our male colleagues to enter and to take the sample while we find a way that we went on the next farm, hoping that it would be different. But it wasn't. We were refused again and again. And that make it even harder to accept that there's farmers who were the same farmer that we had the discussion in group meeting before. So some even said to our face in front of the farm gate that women should not enter the farm because it would bring the bad luck and make the shrimp die even more. So I remember that standing there with my female colleagues, we tried to hold it together and actually we cried, both of us, because we were shocked and sad while the local officer looked on and clearly they were uncomfortable and but they unsure how to support us. But we didn't give up. Over the next several days, we came back again and again. We kept showing up, communicating clearly, explaining that what we were doing and proving our knowledge and professionalism in the field, especially when we had the preliminary results from the sample that the male collected. We went back to the group, share that what we found and explain why it matters. And that was the turning point. They could see that the work was real, useful, and directly relevant to their losses. Slowly, trust grew. Those farmers, the same farmer, began to accept us, and many went on the cooperate with us for a long run. That experience taught me this. When we show up with sincerity, deliver results that truly add value, and stay persistent, trust and appreciation follow. That brought me a sad memory. And another practical challenge, I would think, that is invisible workload. Women often carry. It's not just research, but it's also mentoring, team care, family responsibilities, and all the behind the scene work that keeps things running. That can slow down our scientific publication or limit the mobility, even when you are fully capable. To move past this, we need to show it and name it, that share it more fairly with our team and family and so on. And remember to protect focus time for women core research that carry growth. But don't feel sad because now, however, being a woman has also come that a real advantages. Have many advantages. I think I should name two that for me are the most important. One of them is a strong instinct for care, emphasizing, deep listening, and paying attention to what people actually need on the ground. In our agriculture sector, we work across farmers, technicians, companies, government, and that really matters. It helps you to build trust, translate technical issue into plain language, easy to understand, and create space for different voices to be heard. Especially within the mixed group, that is very important. Over time, that has helped me especially build a strong team and long-term partnership. Another advantage is patience. Many women develop this through caregiving experiences and including motherhood, taking care of children. We learn how to stay calm, keep going, work step by step, and even when the progress is slow, we learn to never give up. That steady persistence is powerful in research because research results take time. And indeed in leadership also, because the people and system do not change overnight. We have to be patient also. So today I'm not doing direct research in the same way, but the knowledge, that skill that I earned during those years, those research years, still help me in every day, especially how I analyze the evidence, manage the risk, and make the decision. And I still connected with research somehow by supervising PhD students, which keep me grounded and remind me why strong science is a matter. And I'm proud to be woman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fan. That was beautiful. I think you are really showcasing truly why we keep talking about why we need women in research and why we need more women in research. These skills that we perhaps have gained, whether through not so great experience in terms of our extra care work and how that actually translates into us being really good listeners and good scientists and good researchers, especially for communicating across sectors and disciplines, different parts of society. I think you showed so beautifully why exactly we need more women in research and the power of the woman in research. And I want to continue that conversation a little bit and ask you how this has played in your role as being part of, international research collaboration, working with researchers from across the world, and perhaps the benefits of these collaborations that span beyond your region, that span the globe, and why is this important, especially for women researchers and this network that we have here? I'm seeing people talking from all regions of the world, and why is this important?
Thank you. For me, international collaboration help me in especially two practical ways. First is improve my research quality and confidence. Working with international partners exposed me to a stronger methods, clearer documentation, and higher expectation around the data and evidence and the quality, of course. It pushed me to be more rigorous and to that you bring the disciplines back to our home office. Second is expand your network and your perspective. Share knowledge, save time, and speed up learning and help us to avoid repeating the same mistake. And saying this remind me that what I were one sentence that I was saying during my speech of receiving the Danida Alumni Prize in 2019, that I was saying that knowledge is not knowledge unless it's shared. We have shared. So just as importantly, the diverse research community brings more angles to the tables, so we see the blind spot earlier and arrive more balanced and ground solution. And for women researchers, specifically, that international collaboration can create a supportive space also. Sometimes women hesitate to ask a certain question at work, at the office, keep a bit more privacy, like how to negotiate the role and how to handle the bias and how to balance the leadership and family. So when you have women peer internationally, you can share this experience more like easier. Honestly, from myself at that time, I think it doesn't. It of course does not show everything, but it helps you to feel less alone and especially more confident to step up. Thank you.
Thank you, Fan. Thank you. Thank you. Those kind of like secret networks that we have to provide each other with advice and support are so powerful. So thank you for sharing. Finally, over back to you. What question do you have for us on this call? This network of we're over 300 women on this on the call. So what question do you have for us?
Yeah, thank you for letting me having a question to you. My question that what is one thing that you will do differently from tomorrow to make your work and value more visible?
A fantastic question. That's a fantastic question. And Rebecca, do you want to introduce the breakout rooms? We'll do a kind of similar thing that we did with the other question.
Yeah, let me introduce that. Thank you so much, Fan, from my side as well. So we are going into the breakout rooms again, and it will be the same breakout room, so you'll meet the same people, so you can continue your conversation. But this time, answering to Professor Fancy Van's question, what is the one thing you would do differently from tomorrow to make your work and value more visible? So again, please appoint a person in your group to be the facilitator and then think about a word or short sentence of 3 words that can reflect your ideas and discussion. It's a different Mentimeter link, and Elena will drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking here what the results are that we're seeing from everybody. Networking, collaboration, just publishing, getting it out there. I think there was that I know in our group we talked about not overthinking, not seeking perfection, just showing up as we are and knowing that that's enough. I know we also spoke about that sometimes we just need to apply for certain jobs, even if they're usually for men. That's a way of showing up and showing value as well. I'm seeing social media, I'm seeing networking, mentorship, of course, comes in there to help us show up in this non-academic communication, strategic communication. Wonderful. Progress over perfection. This is wonderful. I'm seeing that coming up a lot. This is a a big one. I think a lot of us can resonate with that seeking of perfectionism. Oh, wonderful. Thank you all for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have another wonderful speaker coming up, another gift for you all, another gift of knowledge and wisdom coming your way. And this time we're going to go from Vietnam all the way to Mexico. And it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Dr. Elizabeth Loza Rubio. She's a prominent scientist in veterinary medicine. So we've gone from aquaculture to veterinary medicine in Mexico. And in her field, she has helped increase the visibility of women's work in agricultural sciences through networking and mentoring younger generations. She's also the coordinator of the National Danida Fellows Network in Mexico, where she helped identify a strong water-themed community that promoted cross-border collaboration beyond Latin America. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining. joining us from Mexico. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And as we're talking about all these things around visibility and value of our work, I wonder what would your answer be to Van's question?
Thank you, dear Fiona. I like to say that I'm very honored for this invitation, and your initiative is great. I'm very excited to see that we are so many women with the same problems. I like to say that one thing I would do differently since my beginning, that was 40 years ago, is acting like a leader from the start, and not like a boss. Because as I told to my small group few minutes ago, a boss focused on their own success. He put their collaborators to do things, and then he presents those results as just as their own. However, a leader cares their staff. And this is a part of networking, for example. So, as women, we should lead from the beginning and support each other from day one. For many years, I suffer from this imposter syndrome. And for me, it was amazing to discover that people, sorry for talking about that, but Jennifer Lopez and other stars suffer the same syndrome. So we have to believe in ourselves. And mainly, this is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I mean, that phrase around like being a leader and coming as a leader from the early days, rather than a boss, is really powerful, and it speaks to our power as women in leadership because of the care and because of the way we like to see and care for our teams, our collaborators, as well. So thank you for sharing that. I want to ask you a little bit about your career, and I know you've spoken about a few things, and I wonder, if you look at the early days of your research career and now, if you compared them, what is so different, and what do you think has improved over time?
Well, for example, in my case, and believe me, it's the case of many other women, and not only in Mexico, but also in Latin America. And I'm very thankful for represent all those women in my continent. Then there's a lot of things that I like improved, even nowadays. But for a long time, I didn't think about gender balance, gender equality. It was just a few years ago when I began to start thinking about that, and then I began to organize some meetings about gender equality. Thank you, Miriam. Then I realized that invited women researcher, but they talk also about just their projects, their results, and things like that. Not they, as I told you, they only talk about their research projects, not about their feelings. Like nowadays, we, and then what about their brilliance? I think we have to be more true to ourselves and try to support to other women and empower them. Yes. By the way, I belong to Mexican Academy of Veterinary, and we are organizing a meeting for Mexican researchers that are in this academy. That was just a comment.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. And speaking of what you're doing in Mexico, from your perspective, if you're looking at where Mexico is today, what are the most effective actions you suggest taking to improve gender equality, especially in this space and being part of these networks within Mexico?
Well, first of all, I think we need to believe in other women and support each other. This word support is very important. And through mentoring and networking. I learned about networking with Danida. Thanks, Danida, for that. It's very useful to know all about networking since the beginning. And also, but at that time, I didn't have a network of women, any network, in fact, early in my career. But I had the chance to mentor a young woman in my lab. And this particular case was my only network back then. And I'm very proud because nowadays she was the first woman regional director in my institution, in IFAP, in Mexico. It's a national institution, and that's the impact that women can have when we support one another. So I think all these words, it's very important. They have a strength, and we all have to be empowered. And if someone doesn't feel that she's a leader, we can learn. We can. There are techniques for being a leader. Maybe there's someone that is a leader since the beginning. But sometimes our auto self-esteem is not very well. Then we can work in that. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. You're touching on things that are so important to even the genesis of why we wanted to build this network, and connection being one of them, and the potential for mentorship and support, and just feeling part of something, and not feeling alone and isolated. So thank you so much for sharing. Vibeke, back to you.
Yes, just for a split second, because I just wanted to thank you, Elizabeth, so much for being part of this network and for highlighting what the support of it can give to yourself, but also to others. And thank you also to Sarah, Sally, and Fantivan, and everybody here who's been joining for this exciting launch of a community aimed at elevating women in academia and research. Now we are getting close to the end of the session, but really it's only the beginning. So on behalf of Danida Fellowship Centre, I want to thank you for today, but hand over to Fiona and the Mawazo Institute to give us an overview of what's coming next and what we are going to do for the next 1 year.
Yes, this comes where we really start to go and why we wanted to have this launch today. Today in hearing from Sarah and from Fan and Elizabeth, we have heard about the realities, but also really the possibilities for women in research around the world. This movement is for all of us. It's for early career, long-serving professors to join together, to learn together, and of course to lead together. And as participants of today's session, you're now on our mailing list. We have your email addresses, and we will be sending out the invitation to join our first course. This first course is going to be touching on funding. Given the landscape that everyone's in, this is what we thought to start off with. And this particular course will be focused on really learning from what other women researchers are doing to receive funding and secure funding for their research, but also really technical skills and fundamentals of how to raise funds for your research. The way that we're going to set up these kind of training courses is that we're going to start with a live session. During that live session, you'll hear from women telling their experience doing raising funds for their research. And then we'll leave you with some material to sit with over the course of a month. Over that course of the month, you'll have material that you can access from the Mawazo Learning Exchange platform. We'll share all of this in the email, and you'll be able to access the material there. And we'll close about a month later with another live session to kind of come together and have a bit of a knowledge exchange on what we've learned so far and give each other tips. So this initial course will launch on the 5th of March, so just in time for International Women's Day, and we'll run sort of for the course of the month of March, and we'll close around the 8th of April. There are 2 other courses that we have in store for you this year. One of them is tying and touching on exactly what we were talking about around visibility and visibility of us, ourselves, and our research and our work, and the value of that and why we need it in today's world. And this is a course all about personal communication, science communication, and how to own your spotlight as a woman researcher. I was already really, really impressed and excited by some of the things that were being shared today about how we can do this in practicality. It's not always being the loudest and the most brash in the room. There's other ways to be visible and show your value. And so this course will run around the month of June into July. Finally, we come to what had brought us all here in the first place, mentorship. So towards the end of the year, towards the end of September, we will be launching the final course. And this is going to be a course all about mentorship. We built it in so that it comes at the end because we wanted to give you time to connect with each other through the learning that we're going to be doing with the other 2 courses. And this course will have the same format. We'll have a live session, some learning material, and a live session at the end to close. And in this, we will really focus on skills for mentees, skills for mentors, and how to build roadmaps for your mentorship relationships that you will embark on. And that's not all, we realized all this learning that we're going to be doing over these courses is one way to connect with each other, but we also wanted to create little less formal spaces of interaction. And so we want to have these community-led networking events. We're going to co-design these. We're going to ask for your input to help us design what these sessions will look like. And it's an opportunity for us to come together across the world, women researchers facing very similar problems across all disciplines and levels and of seniority as well, to just feel seen and feel like we belong in a broader network and not feel alone. And as we said at the beginning of today's session, we're just so excited to offer these to you and build and start to really build this community and this movement. And finally, to quote Fan again, knowledge is only knowledge when it is shared. Thank you again for coming today, for joining us in this launch for the More Women in Research, Learn and Lead Together movement that you are now a part of. You are part of building this movement, and would like to just open the room a little bit if you wanted to share or ask questions to either myself or Vibeke or any of our colleagues that are here. So the room is open for you all to ask questions. And thank you, Asante Sana. Thank you for joining us today.